Hello, welcome back to the AI Insiders podcast, the flagship podcast of flagships. Think about it. Hi, I'm Adam Russell, the director of the AI division at USC's Information Sciences Institute, and your host for the AI Insiders, where, if you don't know, you could probably guess, we talk to humans. What, you think I'm here to learn more about AI? Are you really talking to humans? Yes, because if you are interested in AI, I think you might be interested in my hypothesis. And part of learning about AI, where it is now, where it might be headed, also entails learning more about the humans behind AI. And that's why I'm here, because this is where I, and now you too, dear listener, get to know more about the humans behind AI at ISI. I'm inviting you along to get to meet my colleagues and to watch me ask them slightly insane questions as a way to better understand not just what they do, but why, insofar as any of us really know why we do what we do. So who is brave enough this week to come on the podcast and try and answer my unlikely questions in my pursuit to grok, that's a term that can be used safely anymore, more about the human dimension of AI, why it is none other than Dr. John May. John is currently Research Associate Professor of Computer Science at the School of Engineering here at USC and Principal Scientist at ISI. He is also my dance floor hero, which we'll unpack a little bit perhaps in this podcast, because whatever else AI can do now, it's got a long way to go to pass the John May Boogie Woogie benchmark. Unpack that. So John, after that intro, if you're still here, welcome to AI Insiders.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I didn't realize we were going to get into the dance portion of my audition. So I'm glad I packed my shoes.
It is a talent show, really, here. So I like to, as I warned you, these are slightly insane and slightly unconsidered questions. So the first one is, I need you to work on the premise that I can take you back in time. And I could introduce you to 10-year-old John May, and this 10-year-old knows who you are and is interested in understanding, how do I go from the John May I am at 10 years old, which I presume was like breaking karate blocks and fighting off wild animals somewhere. How did we get from there to where we are now? More importantly, explain to your 10-year-old self, what do you do?
I make it so that you can talk to your computer, and so that you can throw away that giant DOS manual that you've been consulting for every little thing that goes wrong. You don't have to learn the difference between recover and format. And you just talk to the computer, tell it what you want to do, and it's going to do it for you.
10-year-old John May says, and how's that going?
Better than you might imagine.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, exactly. 10-year-old John May does have actually a DOS manual at that point?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, no, nice.
I mean, I was, they didn't really know what to do with me in first grade. And they had a TRS-80, I believe, computer. It was one of those, it had the basic programming language on it. And actually, the coolest thing about the basic programming language as it was written on the TRS-80 at the time was, I don't know, have you ever written in BASIC?
Long time ago,
right?
10 go to 20. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So the 10, right, had those line numbers, right? The later on, basically, they got rid of the line numbers. But the cool thing about this was, after you type 10 and you write, print John is cool, and then you push enter, it would print the 20 for you, and then you would type, go to 10. But so I spent a lot of time in first grade, I remember, trying to see what the highest number was. I just held, kept on pushing that enter key to see where it would stop. And sometimes you put in a new number and then it'll go 10 higher than that. It was amazing. And then we had a subscription to what was called Family Computing Magazine. They had printouts of basic programs in the middle, and so I spent a lot of time, basically coding Snake, without understanding what I was doing. It was just one line at a time, and hey, look, I got Snake. So yeah. So when we got when my dad offered to buy a PC, I think we had a compact luggable, and I got the DOS 5.1 or whatever manual. I guess that was a little later on, and I read through the thing and tried to figure out how to do every last thing. A lot of shareware, a lot of Math Blaster. That was a good game.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, clearly you found your calling. So normally I ask for if AI didn't exist, given that you've done so much of it for so long, what would you be doing instead, do you think?
Well, I'd probably be, if I was able to be successful, I would be an actor playing a lawyer. If not, I'd probably be a person occasionally getting commercial work.
Okay.
I mean, I enjoyed being in plays growing up, and I also enjoyed doing improv comedy in undergrad, and so teaching always really appealed to me because you essentially get a captive audience and a couple hours twice a week to do you essentially do a stand-up show.
That's true. Any future John May students who are listening, though, I can assure you it's good stand-up comedy. Like it's not like he's not keeping you hostage, and you start thinking about how you can feign death to get out of it.
I would like to say that I feel happy or successful in my teaching when my students tell me they learned something.
Yeah.
But if I'm honest, I feel successful in my teaching when I can get a laugh out of the students.
Edutainment. Edutainment
Yeah.
is the way forward. Absolutely. So you are funny. You're interested in
Mhm.
how people engage on that level, and you work in AI. Why does AI suck at humor? Why is it so bad?
What makes something funny is it comes in the moment. It comes in the upsetting of expectations. It comes in the kind of appreciation for the
Yeah.
mind of who you are talking to. And at least for me, because I tend to be a narrow casting comedian, like I would rather have one person fall out of their chair while the rest of the people kind of look quizzically than get everybody to laugh, which is why I was not a more successful comedian, like professionally. And I think that, well, for one thing, I don't think AI models currently or natural language models are trained specifically to subvert expectations. They're trained to fulfill them. But yeah, that's one part of it. And the other part is that when it comes to like live humor, humans are really great at their sensing, right? Like we take in a lot of the context around us, and the raw hardware that's doing sensing in computer models is still pretty behind, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, again, maybe more than 1 year, maybe 3 years that'll change. Because I know some great people are working on that. But I think that we're taking a lot of that into consideration when we're figuring out what to do to get a laugh. And so yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
No, I think that's right. The context in particular, that's very astute, John. But you did actually touch on something that I'd like to pull on a little bit, which is, your timeline for AI catching up on humor went from 1 to 3 years, but not much beyond that. And you point out things are changing so fast. Given they're changing so fast, two quick questions: what are you most excited about with the developments of AI in the near future, and what are you most worried about?
Well, I'll start with what I'm most worried about.
Hmm.
I'm most worried about people. And people are great at innovating, and they're great at innovating ways to harm each other in
Mess
their
things
in
up.
their own service for the services of their own local optimization. And so the AI is a very useful tool, but there's also great risk involved in, for example, sometimes intentional risk of bad actors trying
Hmm.
to do things like create fake news or create deepfake images, etc. And then also like potentially unintentional or maybe somewhat deliberately turning a blind eye, where, for example, intellectual property is abused, is neglected, and so that's what I'm worried about. What I'm excited about is that these are useful tools, and I feel fortunate that I tend to be catered to, probably not directly, where these tools are almost seemingly created with me in mind. That is another probably worry. Not probably, that is another worry, which is that the availability of great tools that can increase productivity and increase delight are not being made available
Yeah.
equally,
Yeah.
or for like the speech recognition is going to be great for my voice, but it might not be great if you're a different age or come from
Yep.
a different background, or represent as a different gender than me. But to the degree that there is focus on increasing delight and increasing utility, I know there are actually really are great people working on all these kinds of technologies. And so it just kind of opens your mind to what can come next. And, we've come a long way is, I guess, my point. And that means that we can ask questions that we would never even think to ask before. And so that just kind of inspires a whole lot of interesting exploration of, okay, what's the most interesting next problem? Which, it's a difficult question to answer, actually, but it gets us thinking. We're not just doing the same old thing.
Sure. You referred to AI as a tool. How long until you think it's going to be a teammate? Or is it already? Do you consider AI at all like a partner in some sense?
Yes, but I do, but I also consider AI probably more broadly than you do. So I ask my students this question. I'll ask you this question, if you don't mind. Is ChatGPT AI?
I think it is in the sense that, yeah.
Well, hold on. It's a multi-part question.
So are knowledge graphs. So
is Google navigation AI?
I think so.
Okay, great. When you walk into a grocery store and the doors open for you, is that AI?
Are you in an Amazon grocery store? Because it is.
No. Just your typical Kroger brand in your city of choice.
I would call that more instinct in some sense. Yeah, just
you'd say instinct.
I'd say almost input output kind of process. It doesn't require any actual sort of information processing other than a standard circuit board.
What about the spell checker?
Now, probably. Yeah, I think.
What about the spell checker 5 years ago? 10 years ago?
Well, you tell me. How should I think about it?
Well, I think that when I ask people, I get different answers. I think that I've asked students about this before, and I think they tend to be, only the latest was only maybe ChatGPT. I don't think they would consider a spell checker even to be AI. They might not even consider Google, or automatic navigation to be AI. What I remember learning at the time in the late 90s, early aughts in an AI class was, well, that the definition of AI actually is squishy and tends to change and mean anything that a human can do that a computer can't do yet. And then once the computer can do it, it moves on. So even older fashioned chess playing, well, they always call it AI there, but I think people might even think that that some older chess algorithms don't count as AI anymore.
Since you're helping me think about AI, and this is useful, and this is actually why I enjoy being your colleague. Where have you been most wrong about AI? And then the second is, what do you think is the most? What's the concept in AI that needs to be killed? Like, what's the most misunderstood or the most unproductive concept in AI?
Yeah. Okay. So I was super wrong about the power with which neural network based learning would be possible. So
just to scale.
I gotta hand it to Hinton and the rest of them. When I can tell you where my eyes were first opened, and even then I was a skeptic. So in about 2014. So this is after already, say, Word2Vec had come out. And of course, people had been working in neural networks for a long, long time and had shown interesting results, but they just didn't scale. But in 2014, we were working on a machine translation project. I was at this point, ISI again. And then this guy, Jacob Devlin, who was the fairly junior engineer on this, had his system had it was 10 points better than all of our systems, or maybe it was even 5 points better, which is an astonishing number of points. You got to take my word for it.
So
wow, what the heck happened? And Jacob used a neural network, but then there were teams that were saying, yeah, you have this complicated pipeline for doing translation. We're just gonna show you what is the source language example, what is the target language example, and we have this big neural network. And it's just we're not gonna give it any kind of guidance at all. We're just gonna let it run for a long time, and it's gonna figure it out. And I said, "There's no way that can happen." And and then it happened, and I was like, "Wow, I was really wrong that there was no way that it could happen." And so I was kind of like, "Huh." I wasn't so resistant that I didn't want to get into it, but I definitely should have taken another step. So that's a big regret about what was the second? You had a second question.
What do you think is the most common concept in AI?
Oh, yes, it needs to be retired. I don't think it's useful to talk about. What does an AI think? What does an AI believe?
What's it going to dream about?
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm not down with that. I still am of the opinion I don't think we're creating life. I think there's a fundamentally different thing there. The different thing is that I think life wants to live, and AI doesn't. I think, if anything, AI wants to die. I mean, what I mean is that a capacitor wants to discharge, right? And that's, at the end of the day, all of the binary signals are being represented in transistors, which are essentially capacitors, right? And so I think, AI would be quote unquote happiest if you just turned it off.
I've never thought about that. I love that. That's very interesting.
I think we are amazing pattern recognizers. Another great property of humans, and we're gonna see a face if you just put two dots in a horizontal line. We see a face always, right? We're just kind of predisposed to recognizing various patterns, and we want to see other beings there. And so even from the Eliza days, just that small neo-Rogerianism helps
project on
but
it. Yeah.
in science fiction, it comes up a lot, right? You want to feel for data. There's are you familiar with Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
A famous episode called Measure of a Man, where this android Data they're arguing whether or not he/it is conscious,
right?
And is a being, and of course we're on the side of yes, he is. He's a character, right? But that's a reflection of the humans who wrote this episode and who wrote the character, right? Like Data ultimately is human, right? Like in truth, even though it is all like synthetic. I think a true AI is not like that.
All right. Well, hey, we're running out of time, John. Thank you very much for spending this time that I know is valuable to you with me. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is I think I actually know more about John May than I did when I started.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
I have to have you on your podcast at some point so I can learn about the Adam Russell behind Adam Russell.
Well, that's why I'm on this side and you're on that side, and you mind yourself. I did want to highlight just before you disappear, though. I had mentioned previously the notion of the highlights of your technical work for the country, ARPAs and DARPAs, but then also the number of people you've mentored and the students that you've listed that have had the chance of the benefit of your stand-up comedy, or what's called edutainment. And I hope actually you'll list me among these students, because you have really been such an important person for me in my short time here at ISI. Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, you're welcoming and challenging, but I think more importantly is you're creating a much needed atmosphere of sort of psychological safety. You really are not afraid to ask questions. You're not afraid to try new things, but I think perhaps more importantly is you inspire other people to feel safe doing the same thing. And again, I think another thing that sets ISI apart is the value we place on our students, which
absolutely.
Academia sometimes they can be, I think, how's this for neologism? Misunderappreciated.
I totally agree. People ask me why I did this. You didn't ask me, but I'll ask myself and answer that question. Is why do you do what you do? Like, what's the best part of your job? And I always say it's the students. I mean, having student meetings is just absolutely glorious. Even when they're struggling or whatnot, like they have great ideas, and to watch students learn and to learn from the students because they know a whole lot more about the latest and greatest than I do. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and as you know, at ISI, we talk about technical competence, obviously, is hugely important. But we also talk about the character that's involved, right? The kind of person who's a learner, knower, as well as connections, people who can bring people together, and then ultimately contributions, which is someone who knows that there are many ways to contribute, to include, in some cases, just making other people better in their own ways, even if, we can't yet measure that the way I want to, but I'm hoping we can, because it's just obvious when I see it. So I don't know how this whole AI thing will play out, but I do know it'll play out better if we can bring more humans to this discussion. That means leading by example, as you do so well. And I'm grateful to call myself your colleague, and I'm grateful that we've got you on Team Human.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I'm really happy to be working with you. This has been a wonderful, only 6 months or something like
Not
that,
even,
right?
man. Yeah, we're soon hanging there.
So,
all right, well, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
All right, if you enjoy these short podcasts, please do that thing, like us, give us stars, my term for many stars. Subscribe, spread the word, send us feedback, offer up additionally insane questions you'd like me to ask. And of course, just keep listening and learning. And join us, please, again for another episode of AI Insiders in the future, where we will continue to navigate our way through this weird, let me add an additional weird world, trying to do what humans do best when they face these kinds of challenges. Working together as if all our lives depend on each other, because they do. So for now and for the future, fight on.